Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes. So you're ready with the seminar topic. Yes. Okay. Who's starting? Schools of psychology. Who's taking that topic?
Ma'am, it's me.
Are you prepared?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, you can share the screen if you want.
Ma'am, 1 second, there's a problem.
Share once more.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Eva, and today I'm going to be presenting on the topic schools of psychology. So these are the 7 schools of psychology, but in this presentation, I'm only going to be explaining 4. That's structuralism, functionalism, behaviorism, and gestalt psychology. So first, let's look at structuralism and functionalism. So the 2 people on the screen, the guy on the right with the glasses, that's Wilhelm Wundt. And he is the person who started the first experimental lab for psychology in Leipzig, Germany in 1879. And he developed structuralism, which is the first school of psychology. And he's also credited with the formal beginning of modern psychology. And the guy on the left, that's William James, and he developed functionalism. Now, functionalism, it focuses on how things work together. But structuralism, it breaks things down to their smallest parts to explain it. And I think there's a better way of explaining this. So let's move to the next slide. Now, this is an example to explain structuralism and functionalism. So this assumes a person's mind, that's AB. What a structuralist would do to examine the person's mind is they would take the factors, the components of the mind, that's in this case, it's A and B, and they would look at it separately. But what a functionalist would do is they would take AB as a whole and put it in different situations to see how it will work together. And that's how they would examine functionalism. And this is the way I interpreted it. So I hope this helps. And another thing I want to add is that both of these schools, they lost dominance in psychology, and especially structuralism, because it uses introspection. And introspection is basically looking at oneself, right? So many people argued that this is not an accurate way because you can't verify, outsiders can't verify it. So structuralism and functionalism, they lost dominance, and they were replaced by the rise of behaviorism and gestalt psychology and many others. And yeah, and also another thing is that psychologists today, they don't really identify with one single school. You don't find structuralists and functionalists nowadays. What they do now is that they draw on different ideas and theories from other schools. And yeah, they don't identify with a single school. So next, let's move to gestalt psychology. Now, this on the screen, what I'm showing is an example of stop motion animation. It's basically when the animator, they shoot single frames of an action, and when they put it together, it looks like it's moving. So when you take the separate frames of it, it really doesn't make any sense. But we, as the observer who's seeing this, we are the people. So now when we look at this, it kind of makes sense. It looks like something is happening. But for the animator who's making this, it's just a bunch of frames. So that's basically the core of what gestalt psychology is. it means that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. What we experience is more than the inputs received from our environment. And research psychology actually emerged in Germany as a reaction to the structuralism of Wundt. And the next school that we're going to discuss is also came as a reaction to structuralism and behaviorism. So around 1910, John Watson, this is John Watson, he basically rejected the ideas of mind and consciousness. And what he said was that unless it's verifiable and observable, it shouldn't be considered scientific psychology at all. So when you look at structuralism, you're talking about the mind, and the mind is not observable. And if you're using introspection, it's not verifiable. So this was a reaction to structuralism. And John Watson was also inspired by physiologist Ivan Pavlov on the works of classical conditioning. So classical conditioning, it's easy to understand. It's like when you can, some people do this with their pets, like their pet dog. Like they have like a certain signal to show them to eat food or whatever. Like some people pat dogs on the head, and the dog instantly knows that it's time to eat food. That's because the person has been doing it for a while. That the dog knows what's going to happen. That's what classical conditioning is. At least that's how I understood. And John Watson, when we talk about behaviorism, he defines psychology as a study of behavior or responses to stimuli, which can be measured and studied objectively. So when you look at it this way, it's kind of similar to structuralism. That's what we for behaviorism, because structuralism, you put, when we take the earlier example of AB, you put AB in different situations and you look at the behavior and the reactions of it. And that's really similar to behaviorism. That's all I have. Thank you.
So can you give a summary of whatever you have talked about? Just summarize in a few words.
Okay, so in the presentation, I talked about 4 schools of psychology: structuralism, functionalism, behaviorism, and gestalt psychology. And structuralism is when you is examining the mind by looking at each individual part. Functionalism is you look at how things work together. That's functionalism. Gestalt psychology, it claims that what we experience from the person's mind, that's greater than the individual parts of it together. So that's kind of like a reaction to structuralism. And behaviorism, it says that unless it's verifiable and observable, it's not scientific psychology.
Okay. And you told that behaviorism and structuralism is kind of similar, but there is starking contrast between both. That is, behaviorists don't support the idea of mind. They reject the idea.
That's why there are different schools.
Yes, that's why different schools. And in structuralism, they study the structure of mind, the elements or units of mind. That's the main difference. Okay. All right. Yeah, very good presentation. Now question session. Eva, you can ask one question, and after that, these guys will ask.
Okay, can someone differentiate between structuralism and functionalism?
Differentiate structuralism and functionalism. Anybody? It's an open question. Differentiate structuralism and functionalism.
In structuralism, we study about the basic units of mind, and in functionalism, we put the mind in the different kinds of situation.
Functionalism is like studying the adaptive functions of mind. Okay, the processes, the functions. Yeah, is that correct, Eva?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. So you all can ask one question. Anyone? Sanjana?
Define functionalism.
Once more.
Define functionalism.
Define functionalism.
Functionalism is it's based on the study how and the
Your voice is breaking, my dear. Can you repeat?
functionalism. It focuses on studying the mind as a whole. It looks at how the mind reacts to different situations.
Yes, mind functions. Okay, fine. Okay, very good. Now next, who's next?
Ma'am, I'll take branches of psychology.
What are you taking?
Ma'am, branches of psychology.
Branches of
The
psychology.
first 5 branches of psychology.
Okay, but who is taking the continuation of this?
Me.
Abhilash.
Abhilash. Can we do after that, Devika?
But ma'am, I think I'm doing the
Ma'am, she has the
starting
first
part
part.
and-
I have more.
I am asking who's doing the second part of schools of psychology.
Okay, ma'am.
I have more to explain. Okay, will take.
Please unmute and speak. I did not hear you properly.
I will take next period. PPT is not working properly. Next
Okay,
period
okay,
I will
fine,
take.
fine. That's fine. I was just searching for the person. That's all. Okay. Branches of psychology. I will begin branches of psychology part 1.
Yes, ma'am.
Sharing is enabled.
share
Yes.
this.
Others, please switch on the videos. Abdul, Malavika, Anila, Nesli, Basuri, Abhiram.
Ma'am, there's no current MI, so I'm using data.
Ma'am, can I start?
Yes, you can.
Good morning, everyone. So I'll be taking a seminar on the topic branches of psychology. So here I'll be discussing about 5 branches of psychology, which are cognitive psychology, biological psychology, developmental psychology, social psychology, and cross-cultural and cultural psychology. So over to the first one, cognitive psychology. So cognitive psychology investigates mental processes involved in acquisition, storage, manipulation, and transformation of information received from the environment along with its use and communication. So what cognitive psychology actually means is that it includes all the mental processes that go inside our brain, like perception, memory, problem solving, thinking, etc. So here you can see the word acquisition. So what does it mean? Acquisition means learning or developing a new skill. So here what we do in cognitive psychology is we take in information, that is we gather information, we organize it, we modify it, we store it, and then we retrieve it, that is we recollect it when we need that information. So all these processes are very similar to that of a computer. That is the reason why cognitive psychologists use IPM. So what is IPM? IPM is information processing model, and IPM is used to explain the different mental processes. And cognitive psychologists usually focuses on attention, perception, memory, problem solving, language, as I told earlier. And cognitive psychologists conduct experiments in 2 ways. That is in a controlled setting where different features are controlled. That is usually done in a laboratory, or it is done in a natural setting that is affected by environmental features. And the next branch of psychology is biological psychology. So biological psychology, it studies the relationship between behavior and the physical system, including the brain, nervous system, immune system, and genetics. So here biological psychology is also known as physiological psychology. So it focuses on the basis of our behavior. It studies about how our brain, our nervous system, immune system, and genetics influences our behavior. So biological psychologists also collaborate with neuroscientists, zoologists, and anthropologists. Now, who are these anthropologists? Anthropologists are those people who study about the evolution of human beings and genetics. So why do they collaborate? They collaborate in order to study in depth about the development of the brain. And then there is a sub-branch under biological psychology, which is neuropsychology. And in neuropsychology, psychologists as well as neuroscientists study the role of neurotransmitters, which are responsible for neural communication. So what are neurotransmitters? Neurotransmitters are actually body's chemical messengers. So what do? They help us in sending messages from one neuron to the other. And neuropsychologists usually conduct different tests such as EEG, PET tests, MRI scans, etc. So what do these tests help to explain? It helps us in studying about the different nerves in the brain, and also helps us in understanding the flow of blood in different parts of the brain. So here you can see this is MRI scan. So next branch of psychology is developmental psychology. So developmental psychology focuses on the growth and development of an individual. It studies about how we become what we are. So here's developmental psychology aims to explain the physical growth and psychological changes that takes place during the different stages of an individual. It studies about how we become what we are. That is, it studies about the embryo, when we are an embryo inside our mother's womb, till the stage of our death. So, and these psychologists, developmental psychologists also study about different features such as intelligence, emotion, etc. during the lifespan of an individual. So, and they also collaborate with anthropologists and neurologists. So here you can see the different stages of an individual's life, which is infancy, early childhood, adolescence, young adulthood, maturity, etc. So the next branch of psychology is social psychology. So social psychology, in social psychology, we study about how people are affected by their social environments, how people think and influence others. So here we see about how the people around us, our society, can change our behavior, how we think and how we feel and how we act. So it also focuses on topics such as attitude, obedience, aggression, etc. And the next branch of psychology is cross-cultural and cultural psychology. So what is cross-cultural and cultural psychology? So here in this topic, we see about how culture influences behavior, thought, and emotion. So what is culture? Culture is nothing but it is a set of beliefs, values, attitudes, and traditions which are passed down from generation to generation. So in cross-cultural and cultural psychology, we study about the similarities and differences between various social groups, and we see how these similarities and differences affect our behavior. For example, if you see, American culture is like totally different from Indian culture. So we study the similarities between these two cultures, and we see how this culture influences our behavior. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. That was also a very good presentation, isn't it? Very colorful and very well done. Yes, Evas and Devikas. So far, really good presentations. And I'd like to comment on the systematic way in which you are doing the presentation. Very good PPTs. Very clear. Talking about all of you, those who have presented till now, really good. The terms that you mentioned and the examples that you're giving, which is out of syllabus also, some of the examples that you have given, that's really good to understand. So again, as I told you in the previous class, the point of conducting seminar is to understand how much you are able to understand the topic and how much you are able to elaborate on that. And I think so far so good, isn't it? The audience, please tell me, comments. Malavika, how was it?
It was good, ma'am.
Yes, louder, louder. I cannot hear.
It was good.
It was good. Yes. Okay. So now the few things I'll tell you about a few things that you have to note. The voice modulation. When you take the seminar, the voice modulation is important. Otherwise, the individual sitting in the audience section, they'll get bored and you won't be able to grab their attention. So you need to modulate your sound, your tone, your voice, and it should be clear also. You should not speak as if you're telling some secret. Okay. That is one thing that you have to note. And obviously the presentation, it should be crisp and brief. All yours were very good. And I'm just telling you that these are the main points that you have to note. Okay. The rest of the things we discussed in the last class, and I told you how to do it. And you are doing it in a better way, I'd say. Okay. Yeah. Part 2 of branches of psychology. Abhilash. Before that, question session. Devika, we nearly missed it.
What
Yes.
is cognitive psychology? Any?
What is cognitive psychology? Anyone? Open question. What is cognitive psychology? Anyone can answer. Don't force me to call your names, please. Yes? Unmute and speak.
Devika has to give the answer.
Yes, sir?
Nobody is speaking, though Devika will have to give the answer.
No, they will give. Devika, you can call out someone.
Emily?
In cognitive psychology, they investigate about the mental process
Yes.
involved storage, magnification, transformation of information received from environment, along with the uses and communication.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. It's good.
Satisfactory answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Now you guys can ask one question to her in return. Return gift. Should I call out the name now? Eva?
Kevin, your face is not to be seen. You are hiding.
Yes. Eva, you can ask.
Can you explain neuropsychology?
Neuropsychology.
In neuropsychology, neurologists along with psychologists, they collaborate with each other and they study about the role of neurotransmitters. So neurotransmitters are actually bodies, they send messages that is from one neuron to the other, and they study deep about this topic.
Yes. And in the next chapter, we have already completed 2 chapters, right? In the 3rd chapter, we have biological basis of behavior, and that we are learning more about this regarding brain, the neuron structure, and all those things. Okay. We have 2 bases, cultural and biological. In biological section, we learn about this, more about neuropsychology. Okay. That's it. Very good presentation again. Abhilash,
Devika,
ready?
try to have eye contact with the audience, okay?
Yes.
Okay.
And also more expressions and gestures to
Yes.
attract the audience.
Yes.
Otherwise, you know the stuff so well that you are just reciting or you are just telling
Yes, sir.
without any full stop or punctuations. You are just you know it very well. The presentation was very good, but try
Thank
to
you.
keep
Thank
the
you, sir.
audience in your hand.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Shall we do the next one? Abhilash, ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. You can share the screen.
Is the screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to continue with the branches of psychology, the remaining part. So in this seminar, I'll be covering the topics of environmental psychology, health psychology, clinical and counseling psychology, industrial or organizational psychology, educational psychology, and finally sports psychology. So environmental psychology. So when we first hear the term environmental psychology, the first thing that comes to our mind is our surrounding environment, and it is to a certain degree. But environmental psychology mainly studies the interaction or the effect of our external environment, that is the temperature, humidity, pollution, and other things on the human behavior. And other than this is the basic idea. And other than this, it also studies the influence of these environment on a work setting. If the work setting is good and if it's neat and tidy, then our productivity may be more. or if it's bad, then our productivity may decrease. And yeah, environmental psychology basically focuses on these two aspects. And health psychology. So health psychology, it mainly focuses on these psychological factors such as stress and anxiety on the treatment of a person. So if a person is stressful during when they are undergoing a treatment, the treatment may not be as successful as when they are calm or yeah, at a peace of mind. So the main goal of health psychologists is to develop coping mechanisms to maintain a healthy mental a healthy men no yeah healthy mental behavior, so that when they are undergoing treatment, they can respond to the treatment better, or have a better relationship with the doctor they're being treated by. Clinical and counseling psychology. So in clinical and counseling psychology, both deals with causes and treatments of different types of mental disorders, psychological disorders. But clinical psychologists deal with more, let's say, severe cases like clinical depression, and counseling psychologists mostly deals with less severe cases. So counseling psychologists can be often noticed having counseling students and giving career guidance, but you don't see this. Well, clinical psychologists too can do this, but you don't often see them do this because they are mostly focusing on more severe cases. And and yeah, that's the basic idea. But an important topic to be aware of in this part is what are the difference between a clinical psychologist and a psychiatrist. So they both have these both are similar jobs, but a main difference is that a clinical psychologist will have a degree in psychology, while a psychiatrist will have a medical degree. Meaning, the medical degree enables the psychiatrist to prescribe medicines or other treatments like electroshock, and a clinical psychologist can't do it because he or she doesn't have a medical degree. And the psychiatrist is more trained for over the years under a medical degree for being a psychiatrist, while the clinical psychologist doesn't have that extent of training. Industrial or organizational psychology. So in organizational psychology, the psychologist mainly focuses on the work environment, but in a different manner. The main goal of this psychologist would be to establish a better relationship between the management and the employees, or to see that the employees' mental health or family issues are all sorted out, and that they don't have any stress or external factors pressuring them when they come into work, and that doesn't decrease their productivity. So organizational psychologists can also suggest plans or uh, methods to the management to improve the environment of the employees, or to increase the communication between the managers and stuff, because it's very common to have like a large barrier between the main managers and the staff, because they feel like there's a imaginary divide between them and they don't communicate as often. So the managers won't know what are the issues of the employees, and the employees won't be able to convey it to the managers. And organizational psychologists will be very helpful in this regard. So like nowadays, all major corporations will have at least one organizational psychologist who is appointed professionally, so that they can see to these issues. Educational psychology. So in educational psychology, their main goal is to develop or create material and methods to train people on an educational and work setting. Meaning, they want to create ways to impart knowledge or knowledge into other people, which are very easy. But so if someone wants to teach something to another person, they need to have a specific training for it. And educational psychologists can create these materials and methods to impart this knowledge into the other people. And this field is closely related with school psychology for obvious reasons, like it in an like in education is mostly important in schools, and it is very useful for school psychology, and they need to apply the psychological methods in giving this information out. And finally, sports psychology. So sports psychology is a relatively new branch of psychology, and it mainly focuses on motivating the athletes, or making sure the participants are in like a peak physical condition, so that they don't demotivate from their specific categories. So if any person, not only an athlete, is very demotivated or depressed in when they are doing an activity, then obviously their productivity will go down and their performance will also go down. So a sports psychologist can help with this and make sure that all the participants are in peak mental health, so that the only thing they have to be worried about is good practice and not any other methods. And with that, I conclude. Thank you.
Okay. Can you just summarize, Abhilash?
Yes, ma'am.
You can stop sharing and then summarize.
So in this seminar, I discussed about the remaining branches of psychology, which are environmental psychology, health psychology, clinical and counseling psychology, industrial or organizational psychology, educational psychology, sports psychology. So environmental psychology deals with how the external environment can influence a person's behavior, and health psychology deals with how mental factors, psychological factors can affect a person's treatment or biological health. And clinical and counseling psychology deals with mental disorders, while one deals with more severe cases and the other deals with less severe cases. That is, clinical psychology deals with more severe cases and counseling psychology deals with less severe cases. And how clinical psychologists and psychiatrists differ. They differ because one has a medical degree, psychiatrists have a medical degree, and clinical psychologists doesn't have a medical degree and they cannot prescribe medicines therefore. And industrial and organizational psychology, they are mostly found in big corporations or organizations to help maintain a better communication between management and the employees, and to maintain the mental health or counsel all the employees. And educational psychology, really also related with school psychology, deals with how you can make or convey better methods of imparting education or knowledge to others through more accurate methods and materials. And sports psychology, which is a relatively new field, which deals with motivating or making sure the athletes are in peak condition, mental condition.
Okay, fine. Question?
Okay. So how are clinical psychologists and psychiatrists different? Like, what are the key points that differ between?
Different. Are you asking about the difference between the two? Yes. You can call out. I don't think they'll volunteer.
Abhinav?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, clinical psychologist and psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist, yes.
Okay. Clinical psychologist has a degree in psychology.
Yes.
And psychiatrist has a degree in medical degree. And
Medical degree. And the other one has okay, continue.
Psychology. Then psychiatrist has more experience, 3-year experience, more experience than psychologist.
Yeah, because of house surgency, they'll have practice more.
More. And psychiatrist can treat with electric shock and prescribe medicines.
Prescribe medicines. And psychologists, do they have the right to prescribe medicine?
No.
No. The professional degree and the prescription of medicine, the right to prescribe medicine, that is the main difference between the two. Okay, one is medical degree, the other one is a professional degree in psychology. There's a major difference. Okay, satisfactory answer, Abhilash?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Now, question back to him. Sanjana? Sanjana already asked today, right? Emmeline?
What is or how does educational psychologist help?
Educational psychologist.
So educational psychologists, their main task is to create or develop new methods and materials for educational purposes or school purposes. They can be used in a work environment.
Okay. Then?
and they cover to concern with the research issues, how education and counseling can be worked in learning
Yes.
in learning problems.
Okay. So can they also work as counselors in schools?
Yeah, they can, because students may be having difficulty learning, or some other issues that they can identify easily because they are specialized in that field.
Okay. Only students are having problems in school?
Not only students, but the most common case will be of students, or how they're stressed out.
Yeah, students are a prime priority, isn't it, at school? Don't you feel so? Yes. Okay, fine. So that was about branches of psychology. And other than these branches, we have some emerging branches of psychology. If you can please take page number 13 in the textbook. Other emerging branches of psychology. They are not elaborated in the textbook, but still, we have space psychology, we have military psychology, and some of you told in the initial classes that you're interested in forensic psychology. That is also one emerging field. I told you, it's a very rare course. A PG in forensic psychology is a very rare course nowadays, but hopefully it will develop. It's a developing field now. And what else? Rural psychology. Rural psychology is something related to community psychology that we discussed. Then engineering psychology, managerial psychology, then psychology of women, political psychology. When we learned about the different areas that are linked to psychology, we learned different disciplines, right? Like engineering, architecture, then computer science and all, which are linked to psychology. So based on these links, or laying these links as the foundation or as the basis, they build on these. And hopefully in the coming years, they'll develop as different branches of psychology. Okay. All right. So anybody else left for the presentation? I mean, Roshan told he'll present in the next class. Anybody else other than him? No, right? Completed. Yes. So I'll give you portions for the second chapter. Please take the second chapter. Yes. One topic is types of observations. An observation method, types of observation. Who'll take it? You want? Okay, Abhinav. Types of observation, Abhinav. Okay. Now next is experimental method. So you have to describe about independent dependent variable, that is IVDV. Then what is a variable? Then control group, experimental group. Take that. Kevin?
Ma'am, I'll take it.
Okay. Then next topic is survey research. Survey research includes personal interviews, questionnaire survey, as well as telephone survey. The three methods. Survey research. Malavika. Okay. Next one is analysis of data. Quantitative as well as qualitative method. Only two topics are there in that. Analysis of data. Anila. Okay. So that's 4 now, right? Yeah, that's enough. Okay, from next class onwards, we'll be starting the new chapter, chapter 3. And after we finish the biological basis, we can start with the seminar. Till then, you have time to prepare. Okay. All right. Yes. So that's it. Shall we wind up the class? Any doubt regarding the previous chapter that we have completed? Chapter 2. All the methods. No doubt. And I'll ask questions and we'll see if we have a doubt or not. Can you tell me the methods that we discussed in chapter 2? Methods of inquiry. Angelina, name anyone? He's stuck. Alina. Alina? I cannot hear you. No, you're not audible. Amal Roshan,
What, ma'am?
can you can you name any one method that we learned in chapter 2? Any method of
Ah.
research?
Observation method and experimental method.
Oh, very good. 2 methods. I asked 1 and you gave me 2. Observation method and experimental method. Other than that, what all methods are there? Devika.
Naturalistic,
Wait. What is it, Amal Roshan?
naturalistic observation.
Naturalistic observation. Yes, correct. Devika.
Psychological test, survey, correlation, case study.
Which is the one that she missed? Sanjana.
Ma'am, I don't know.
Vilash.
Ma'am, so correlation research.
Correlation, she said.
Experimental method. Case study.
Case study, you said, right, Devika?
Yeah, ma'am. Observation. I missed the observation method.
Observation Amal told me.
Yes. And survey? You mentioned
sir.
survey?
Yeah, she mentioned so.
Yes. Okay, then my mistake. Okay. Yeah.
Variable.
Variable comes under this one, experimental method. Okay. Description about variables and types of variables comes under experimental method. All right. Anything else? Any other doubt in the chapter? No. We'll wind up that. Okay. Thank you.